A husband fabricated a fire alarm to save his ex-lover's son, leaving our boy to burn. The firefighters were forced back by the blaze, and my husband, their damned captain, had to redirect our rescue team through gritted teeth. I was consumed by grief until the day I spotted the rescued boy perched in my husband's car. His first love cradled the boy in her arms, exchanging smiles and jokes with her beloved as if they were some picture-perfect little trio. That's when it hit me, he'd faked not being able to breach the building, all to save his old flames kid. I charged at them, screaming for my son. That woman flung me beneath the wheels with a single brutal push. The flames seared my vision as I blinked awake, back to the day my husband lied about the fire. Move. This area's compromised, all units to area now. The snap and roar of flames swallowed his voice, that voice I'd once loved, as it sliced through the smoke. I opened my eyes to ash-choked heat. Jack's fingers dug into my shoulders. Enough. This place is a death trap, you trying to get my team slaughtered. In my past life, those same words had spilled from Jack's lips. I sobbed, pleading for another attempt, but he cut me off sharply. Rachel, every second we lose here dooms others. I'm his father too, but I command this rescue unit. We're done here, damn it. Back then, I still believed he had no choice. Through tear-blurred eyes, I watched him march the team straight to his ex's kid, sobbing until my knees hit the pavement. I slapped him hard across the face, snarling through gritted teeth, worthless. I sprinted toward the commander standing meters away, choking through smoke. My son's trapped in Building B, please. Commander. Apologies, my wife's lost it. Jack grabbed my arm and jerked me backward, snapping at the commander. B block swept through. Impossible to get through those flames. That's a lie. My boy's trapped on the 10th floor. He never made it up there. My son's in there. I screamed, throat raw with smoke and desperation. Jack gripped my arm, his voice a blade of icy authority. Building B's a death trap. You'd let others die waiting just 'cause our kid's stuck in there. That's enough. The commander snapped, cutting me off mid-protest. You're confirming civilians remain in Block B? Jack faltered, his voice tightening. I meant. Building B's clear. No survivors, sir. What the hell do you mean supposed to? The place is a death trap. No one's making it out alive, especially a kid. Be realistic. Utter lunacy. The commander barked at approaching firefighters. You'd let people roast alive while twiddling your thumbs? Move it. Full sweep of Tower B now. Jack lunged forward in panic. Commander. Building B's compromised. We'd be walking into a death trap. But Building A's accessible. There are trapped kids we can definitely save. We can't gamble away guaranteed lives for a maybe rescue. Building A's a sure save. Let's move. The distant flames seared through my chest, and I wanted to rip him apart limb by limb. Even now, that bastard's still scheming to divert my rescue team, my son's last hope, to save her wretched boy. Enough. The commander snarled. You said it yourself, there's a chance. If we don't check Building B, that kid's as good as dead, damn it. Jack's face twisted in desperation. Stay out of this. The commander gripped his shoulder. You're the boy's father. Emotions cloud judgment. One panicked move against protocol and you'll become another casualty. Head to Block A. His voice hardened. We'll handle your son. Jack's clouded eyes ignited with fervor. Sir, he blurted, already pivoting toward the flames. He spun around, barking at his team as he gestured sharply toward Building A. They rushed toward the smoke-choked structure, his boots pounding the asphalt without a backward glance. Watching him dash toward Building A without a backward glance, my lips twisted into a bitter smile as his silhouette vanished into the smoke. The flames in Building A raged as violently as Building B's. How could our boy's side look any more reachable? The commander was clearly giving him an out. How could a man who threw caution to the wind for his ex's brat ever let fatherly feelings cloud his judgment while saving his own flesh and blood? The kid's hurt. Move, now, the commander barked. I whipped my head around, and there they were, the squad emerging from Building B's flames, the commander at the forefront cradling my son in his arms. Tommy. I lunged forward and scooped him into my arms, my tear-blurred eyes frantically scanning his smoke-streaked face. The ambulance is coming. He's yours now. I need to get patched up. Blood soaked through the commander's sleeve as he pressed a hand to his arm. My heart clenched, tears streaming down my face. Thank you so much. He's crashing. The remaining crew assessed Tommy, one wheeling around. Captain. Tommy's. But the words died abruptly. I turned to see Jack kneeling over the boy nearby, pumping his chest with frantic compressions while the child lay motionless on the asphalt. Ethan, stay with me. Breathe. I've got you, kid. Don't you dare close your eyes. He screamed, his voice raw as he kept pumping the boy's chest, blood streaming down his leg. A teammate stepped forward. Cap, get that leg patched up. I'll handle this. But get lost. He shoved the man away. You think you can answer for this if he dies? The firefighter hesitated, his call dying on his lips. My boy was dying mere steps away, yet there he clung to another woman's kid, refusing to let the pros step in while his own flesh and blood gasped for air. I burned to confront him, but instead clenched my jaw until my teeth ached. Falling to my knees, I positioned Tommy on the charred concrete, clearing ash from his nostrils, checking for breath, pounding his small chest with both hands as the acrid smoke stung my eyes. After the rescue, Tommy stabilized a bit. Dad. His frail voice emerged between violent coughs. Daddy came to save me? My voice quivered. Tommy. He blinked through the soot, smiling weakly. Mommy came. Daddy saved me? Knew he'd come. Daddy's a superhero. Alive. Ha ha ha. Jack's booming laughter erupted, jarring and out of place. Looking up, I saw Ethan coughing violently, while Jack joyfully picked up the child and celebrated with the teammates surrounding him. Saved him. Ha ha ha. I choked out, Tommy, your father, he. Tommy wheezed between labored breaths, his soot-streaked face cracking into a shaky grin. Daddy saved me, and others too. Gasping between words, he managed a trembling smile. Dad's so awesome. When I grow up, I wanna be a hero, just like him. His scorched face tilted up, breath hitching. Mom. It hurts. Burning hurts worse than anything. A shuddering inhale. Tommy's gonna save everyone caught in fires, so nobody has to feel this. They'll hurt so bad. Tears fell with a soft splat onto Tommy's face. I dared not imagine the depths of despair and pain Tommy endured in his last life. Yet in his final moments, this child clung to the unshakable faith that his father would come riding to the rescue. I rose to my feet and marched toward Jack. Smack! My palm struck his cheek with a sharp crack. The jubilant cheers died in their throats. Got a son of your own, don't you? What the hell are you doing here playing hero for another man's kid? My tears blurred my vision as I raged. Tommy still believes you're his savior. And you couldn't be bothered to save him or even ask about him. Who's this brat that you'd forsake your own son? What's this kid to you that you'd throw away your own flesh and blood? Jack stumbled back, clutching Ethan to his chest as I lunged forward. Firefighters wedged between us, their voices strained. Easy there, lady. Cap's just doing what he's gotta do. I yelled, save your excuses. He abandoned his own son in Building B without a second thought. Jack scowled. Rachel, stop causing scenes where you shouldn't. This kid's got a heart condition, can't take any strain. As captain, cases like his take priority. You expect me to bend the rules for my own kid? I seized his collar. Regulations or personal bias? Diverting everyone to Building A when rescue was possible? You claimed Building B was hopeless. Yet a squad magically pulls your own kid out? Is Ethan so damned special you'd abandon your flesh and blood? Even as I clawed at his uniform, Jack clung to Ethan, curling over the boy as if to shield him. Stop this madness. I said let go. I snapped furiously. A sudden force rammed into me, shoving me onto the ground. A woman I recognized hurried over in her designer heels, crying out, Jack. Vanessa's tears spilled over the moment she spotted Ethan cradled in Jack's arms. Jack. Her manicured nails dug into his arm. What happened to Ethan? Didn't you promise you'd make sure everyone went after him? You swore you'd get everyone to save him. Jack stayed quiet, his eyes darting subtly toward my direction. Vanessa followed his stare and saw Tommy still had rescuers around him. Her face flushed crimson as she lunged at me, clawing at my shirt. You got my boy almost killed. If they'd all gone for Ethan, he wouldn't be lying there half dead now. She was wearing high heels and had a tall, slender figure, but I had a habit of working out. I grabbed her hand and slapped her hard, knocking her to the ground. Your son's life is precious, but what about my son? Why should Tommy die in the fire while my husband leads everyone to save your son? If you keep talking nonsense, it's not just your son who's injured. I won't let you off either. Rachel, mind your tongue, Jack barked, lunging to pull Vanessa up. I snarled, blocking his path. Don't you dare. Jack's movements froze, and I stared at him coldly. Whose husband are you? Exactly? An uncomfortable tension thickened the air as bystanders gathered, the crowd swelling with curious faces and murmured questions rippling through them like wildfire. Someone, please tell me this isn't fair. A heart-wrenching sob erupted, drawing all eyes to Vanessa. She wore a white bodycon dress that outlined her beautiful figure, and her face, adorned with a pure and alluring makeup, bore tear stains, resembling a fallen goddess. Many men couldn't help but show expressions of sympathy. What happened? Beautiful? What's going on here? She jabbed a finger toward me. If she hadn't stolen the rescue team meant for my boy, my child would have walked out without a scratch. The captain was the only one who didn't fall for her tricks, fighting through flames to save my boy, and this witch slaps me for it? Since when do children's lives get ranked? Why should her brat get an army of rescuers while mine gets cooked like Sunday roast? Her sobbing moved many men. You shameless witch. Who's the one demanding everyone save her brat? I lunged at Vanessa, clawing at her collar. My hand mid-swing when rough hands seized me from behind, yanking me back with brutal force. Jack wrenched my arms behind my back with a police hold. Enough. You hogged all the rescue efforts meant for Ethan. Take a swing at me if you want. But laying hands on the mother of the victim, the crowd erupted. She didn't just hog rescue crews and attack people, she went after a damn firefighter hero too. Isn't that Captain Jack? He was the one who pulled me out of the fire last time. Who here doesn't know Captain Jack's a damn hero? And this bitch actually laid hands on him. Thwack! A fist smashed into my jaw out of nowhere, and before I could even blink, some enraged woman's palm cracked across my other cheek like a goddamn whip. Bitch! Think you can just push people around? Why didn't your brat burn alive in that fire? Captain Jack's out there risking his neck while you expect the whole damn world to bow to your whims. Shame your brat didn't roast in that fire. A torrent of curses rained down as people pelted me with eggs and produce from their market baskets, men hurling still-lit cigarettes that hissed against my scorched cheeks. My soot-streaked face took another beating as projectiles rained down. The arms pinning me shook, Jack's command barking through gritted teeth, "Keep cool. We'll settle this proper. Nobody starts throwing." Despite his pleas, he kept his grip on me. The mob's fury wasn't quelled. It spiraled out of control, the crew powerless to shield me from their lashing. Through the throng, I spotted Vanessa hoisted up by concerned hands. She dabbed at her eyes with a fist, theatrical sobs coaxing fresh waves of pity from the crowd. My eyes burned with fury, my jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would shatter, but no matter how I struggled, I couldn't wrench myself loose from Jack's iron grip. Enough! A voice boomed through the megaphone, slicing through the uproar. "Commander." Jack spotted the bandaged officer approaching and jerked his hands away from me. Crack! The slap snapped across his cheek. "Jack!" Vanessa gasped, darting forward to inspect the livid handprint blooming across Jack's cheek. She whirled on the commander with blazing eyes. "How dare you strike him?" The commander didn't even glance at her, drilling Jack with a glare. "This is your crisis management? Rather than containing the fallout, you're stirring up gossip with some random woman to blow things sky-high? We're firefighters, not arsonists. Are you trying to burn this whole operation to the ground with your reckless theatrics? Who are you calling a nobody?" "I'm Vanessa." Jack cut her off before she could snap back at the commander. The commander glared at Vanessa before whirling on Jack, jabbing a finger his way. This isn't some minor slip-up. You've both screwed up big time. Consider this far from over. Commander. Jack stiffened, edging closer to Vanessa as if to shield her. This matter, it's not her fault. Silence. The commander thundered, cutting him off. You're getting disciplined this time. No exceptions. What? Jack froze. Then his eyes flashed with realization. Disciplinary action? For me. You really think I'd let you walk away for a screw-up of this magnitude? The commander spat, storming off without a backward glance. Jack snapped to attention, barking toward the commander's retreating figure. Sir. I'll conduct thorough self-criticism. He clearly sighed in relief, looked back at Vanessa, and smiled gently. It's okay now. A profound grief washed over me. His fear wasn't for his own punishment, it was for Vanessa being dragged into this mess. Smack. With the last of my strength, I mustered every ounce of strength left and landed a stinging blow across his cheek. A sharp gasp escaped Vanessa's lips. I kept my eyes locked on Jack's face, burning a hole into him with my glare as I turned away without so much as a look in her direction, then spun on my heel and stormed off. The divorce papers were ready. I'd called Jack a dozen times, no answer until the 15th ring. 15th try, he finally answered, her kid still fighting for his life at the hospital, for God's sake. Can't you quit with the petty jealousy for 5 minutes? After all this, he still thinks this is about me being jealous? My voice turned arctic. Jack, come home. Sign the papers. Enough with the jealous act. How far are you gonna take this? He snapped, irritation sharpening his words. Don't you even know the kid was born with a heart defect? If not for you, he wouldn't be in this state. You're the reason he's like this. Vanessa's on her own after the divorce. What's the big deal if I lend a hand? You're being petty. Stop seeing everything through that jealous little lens of yours. He hung up abruptly. My next call bounced straight to voicemail, blocked again. That's his same old routine. Whenever he'd burn his precious days off doting on Vanessa and her brat, I'd flood his phone like storming Normandy. He's conditioned to blacklist me during my outbursts, only reinstating contact after playing White Knight for Vanessa's family. But this time, I won't play our tired old game of storming battles followed by hollow truces. When I rushed into the hospital room, Ethan sat propped up in bed, clicking together pieces of that damn Optimus Prime toy Jack got him. The doctor said Ethan barely had scratches, just passed out from panic in the flames. No real harm done. But in Jack's mouth, that little scratch had somehow blown up into a life-threatening condition. Jack was hunched over the hospital bed, completely engrossed in guiding Ethan's hands around the Optimus Prime figure. He didn't register my arrival at all. I lunged forward, my palm cracking across his cheek. When's the last time you even saw Tommy? Too busy babysitting some stranger's brat, huh? Jack didn't even acknowledge the slap, already focused on the trembling-lipped boy shrinking back against the pillows. Sure, it's all right. Uncle's just gotta handle something real quick, he murmured, shoving the Optimus figure into the boy's trembling hands. He dragged me down the corridor, my heels scraping against tiles as I fought until we halted. Wrenching free, I swung my palm sideways and cracked another stinging blow across his cheek. He tilted his head slightly to one side and sighed impatiently. What are you causing a scene in the hospital for? Ethan is seriously injured because of you. Are you here to settle scores? A few scrapes and you call that seriously injured? I scoffed bitterly. Tommy's lungs are scorched. When did you last see him? Bet you didn't even realize they're in the same damn hospital. Jack paused, then exhaled heavily. How many times must I explain? Ethan's got a congenital heart condition. Tommy's perfectly healthy, it's a scrape he'll bounce back from. But even the slightest stress could trigger an episode for Ethan. How's that even comparable? Quit throwing a fit, I'm exhausted. How about I come home tonight? He seized my wrist. Let's go. I'll walk you down. Sign this damn thing first. I yanked out the divorce papers and slapped them against his chest. Staring at the stark divorce papers, he recoiled like I'd slapped him again. Divorce? Rachel, have you gone completely mad? This jealous tantrum's gone too damn far. Even then, he was still clinging to the delusion that I was still into him. Ice coated my voice as I threw down the gauntlet. Sign today or face me in court tomorrow. You can't be serious. He stared blankly for a heartbeat before his brow furrowed, eyes narrowing as they swept across my face like searchlights. His eyes widened as it finally clicked. I was dead serious. I lifted my chin. No objections? Then sign the damn thing. After how you've treated Tommy, he stays with me. You walk away with nothing. Over my dead body. A woman's voice sliced through the air, steel-edged heels cracking against linoleum as she stormed toward us, her designer handbag swinging like a weapon. I turned to find Vanessa clacking toward us in designer stilettos, toting the season's designer bag like armor plating before planting herself beside Jack. Why should Jack be the one getting blood dry? If anyone's crawling out penniless here, it's you. Vanessa hooked her arm through Jack's, tilting her chin defiantly. Jack's out there slaving away to put food on the table while you're lazing around at home playing mommy. If anyone's walking out that door, it oughta be you. Her high and mighty act was almost laughable. Does she even know who paid for that fancy getup she's parading around in? I tilted my chin. And what if I refuse? Let the whole world weigh in then. We'll see who's really getting kicked out after airing their dirty laundry. Her shrill voice drew patients and families spilling into the hall, craning necks for a front-row view. Jack averted his gaze, hissing through clenched teeth, enough. Let's not air dirty laundry here. She's the one making a scene. Vanessa pouted. She's been mooching off you, lazing around while you break your back, and now she wants you penniless just 'cause you helped some old pal? What kind of twisted logic is that? I folded my arms casually, watching her tantrum with a knowing smirk. The crowd lapped up the soap opera drama, buzzing with commentary, mooching off her man then kicking him out penniless? Disgusting. Where I'm from, gold-digging tramps like her get beaten proper. Isn't that Captain Jack? Takes a bleeding saint to stomach that trash. Vanessa preened under the gossip, triumphantly arching her spine like a peacock fanning its tail. Jack, however, was growing more frantic by the second. I chuckled. Looks like we can't work this out. Fine, guess we'll settle this in court. Let's have a judge sort through your little circus and decide who's the real clown here. Fine, I'll do it. Jack blurted, seizing my arm. Slap. Vanessa's palm cracked across my cheek before I could react. You shameless whore, she spat, venom dripping from every word. How dare you throw his goodwill in his face? Every brick in that place was paid for with Jack's sweat. By what fucking right? My face stung from the slap. Jack, visibly flustered, lunged to stop Vanessa, all in vain. I hurled my hand up and cracked my palm across Vanessa's cheek. Despite her teetering heels, she still stood a good half head shorter. My strike sent her careening sideways like a snapped puppet string. If Jack hadn't lunged to steady her, she would have crashed to the floor. Damn right my name's on the deed. I paid cash for that place. I glared down at her. Vanessa froze, and the gawking crowd that had been whispering judgments fell silent in unison. Do you really believe Jack's measly few grand a month could keep you decked out in designer clothes and bags? I leaned in, my gaze piercing through Vanessa. Without my $70K monthly salary propping up this household, we'd have collapsed years ago. Jack would have ended up begging for scraps. You think who paid for all that fancy crap? From your salon trips to those stilettos, even this tacky-ass gold chain around your neck. I snatched the chain from her neck, yanking it hard. All this bling? My money, sweetheart. The necklace snapped around her neck, but Vanessa remained rooted in place like a stunned deer, her fight-or-flight reflexes completely short-circuited. Tilting my head with a venomous smile, I hissed, "Every bite you take, every roof tile over your head, you'll choke on this debt someday." With that, I spun on my heel and marched off without a backward glance. I flung the shattered gold chain backward without looking, the crowd scrambling like hungry pigeons while those two lovebirds stood frozen in their shame. The heated argument was filmed by bystanders and immediately thrown up online. What started as a viral clip of some gold digger draining a man's fortune morphed into explosive footage exposing him funding his ex and their love child with his wife's cash, sending the video viral and straight to #1 trending. Striking while the iron was hot, I exposed the truth about these years online. Truth be told, I married way beneath my league with Jack. I've made my name as a home-based designer, a self-made entrepreneur who scaled my brand from nothing. Having carved my own path, I've never been hung up on marrying someone of equal status. That's why, after Jack rescued me from the burning building, I fell head over heels for a man who earned a fraction of what I did. After we married, I never made a fuss about whose paycheck kept our home running. On the contrary, I was drawn to Jack's big heart. Watching him dip into his own paycheck to help strangers, I'd often slip him extra from mine when his wallet grew thin. I even let him use my premarital property on the west side, since he was always adopting strays and the place was perfect for that. To my shock, a recent probe showed the place had been housing Vanessa and her son all along. The cash I funneled to Jack just went straight into their greedy pockets. Of course, none of this could topple him yet, just emotional priming before the real strike. Ever since my second chance at life, I'd been digging into every detail of that fire. Once the evidence hits the web, people realize Building B was still salvageable. Jack just lied about it being beyond saving to steer all rescue efforts toward Vanessa's precious son. Moreover, leaked photos exposed Jack callously abandoning his shock-stricken son at the scene while obsessively performing CPR on Ethan, who barely had a scratch on him. Almost overnight, Jack's professional negligence exploded into a massive scandal. Faced with mounting public pressure, the fire brigade had to temporarily suspend Jack pending investigation. No wonder Jack had been a star performer in the fire squad all these years. His superiors had always had big plans for him. They were grooming him to be the department's poster boy. But things weren't so rosy for Vanessa. She was branded the homewrecker everyone loved to hate. A crowd flocked to the house out west, camped out daily waiting to pelt Vanessa with rotten eggs. Occasionally, when Vanessa dared to venture out with Ethan, they'd find a coffin planted right at their doorstep, splattered in crimson like bloodstains screaming, "Death to the homewrecker." And then there were those who'd shatter her windows at midnight just for kicks. The constant chaos wore down Ethan's fragile heart until even Vanessa, who'd initially dug her heels in, finally stuffed their belongings into suitcases and bolted with her wheezing son. But I'd already yanked the rug out from under Jack's cash flow. With his paycheck frozen during the administrative suspension, Vanessa's cash flow dried up overnight. Desperate, she hatched a scheme. As the crowd buzzed with excitement, Vanessa collapsed to her knees with a gut-punching thud, her tear-streaked face tilted skyward. "You think I want to be here?" Her raw, trembling voice cut through the festive noise. "This is what she's reduced me to. I've known Ms. Rachel's husband for years. 6 months ago, when my son was trapped in flames, her husband, the fire chief himself, risked everything to pull my boy from that inferno. But who would have thought? Ms. Rachel would jump to conclusions about me and her husband just because he saved my boy. Not only did she drag him to court and drain him dry, but she's squeezing every last penny from me too. I've begged her countless times, my boy's fighting a weak heart, and I've never touched her precious husband. But she still hunts down every last penny I've got. She's a big shot with access to things I could only dream of. Whenever I try to speak up, she'll just throw her money around to crush me. I had no choice but to go this far. Today, I'm begging for justice, to restore the simple life that should have been me and my boys all along. I know right and wrong still exist in this world. Please help us. If justice isn't served, I'll have no choice but to hold my son tight and join his late father in the afterlife." With that, she pressed her forehead to the pavement and lingered there, trembling shoulders holding the posture like frozen grief. Her convincing act and striking looks had the crowd baying for blood. What kind of lunacy is this? Firefighters save people. That's literally their job. And this witch Rachel's screaming affair over a routine rescue. Seriously, if every woman a firefighter saved was a mistress, they'd have a bigger harem than any emperor. How's that monogamy thing working out? Seriously? Firefighters need permission from the wife before saving lives now? What's next? Calling the spouse for approval every time they rescue a kitten from a tree. Hope that rotten woman burns to death in her next fire. Vanessa remained in her kowtow, yet an almost imperceptible smirk had already crept across her lips. I watched the scene unfold from my car window, fingers already dialing my assistant's number. As the crowd buzzed with outrage, scanning for Rachel's presence, the ceremonial screen blazed to life. The screen flickered to life, photos cascading across its surface, glimpses of my West Side apartment where Jack and Vanessa played house. They whipped up meals in my kitchen, laughed as they entertained Ethan, their makeshift family portrait complete when candlelight illuminated their midnight whispers after tucking the child in. Vanessa had dozed off against Jack's shoulder countless times, the three of them appearing every bit the blissful little family. Yet, it's my name on Jack's marriage certificate. Not just that, since coming back, I'd slid in the proof I'd been digging into that fire. Holy shit. Isn't that the lazy-ass firefighter who screwed up the rescue and his old flame from 6 months back? Wait, aren't those the scandalous lovers from the fire station incident? How dare that shameless wench show her face here? In an instant, the court of public opinion swung to the opposite extreme in a surge of fury. Vanessa stood frozen on the balcony, thrown into a panic as the crowd below wasn't about to get her justice anymore. Weren't you gonna jump for justice? Do it then. Or was that all talk? The crowd roared. Hey, why don't you take the brat and jump already? Quit stalling. Vanessa, who had been ready to die moments before, stood frozen, clutching her child and digging her heels in. The crowd below started pelting her with slingshot stones. Vanessa cowered, desperate to flee, only to remember she'd bolted the balcony door earlier to keep the office staff away. Amidst the chaos, the balcony door burst open. A hand shot out, grabbed Vanessa's arm, and yanked her into the shadows. I frowned and dialed my assistant. Seal all exits and smoke her out. Within moments, the man clutching Vanessa was swept out through the jostling crowd, his arm desperately shielding her as office workers spilled onto the street. He threw his coat over Vanessa's head to keep her hidden, pulling her close as he kept his baseball cap yanked low to cover his face. Jack, after all this, you're still defending her. I barked through the megaphone, slamming the car door. The crowd erupted. Holy shit, that's Jack. Fucking bastard. Still shielding that slut even now. I'll beat the hell out of that bastard. Jack's baseball cap was ripped away. Stumbling in panic, his wild eyes locked onto mine. I stood by the car, my icy gaze following the mob descending upon the pair. Settling back against the hood with grim satisfaction, I observed the spectacle unfold. Fortunately, the cops showed up just in time. Those two wouldn't have walked out of that human siege alive. The scandal around Jack's dereliction was nearly forgotten when he recklessly charged to save Vanessa from her predicament. The revived outcry swelled into a raging tsunami, baying for Jack's head. This time, his superiors didn't cover for him. He got sacked on the spot and got slapped with a massive fine. As for Vanessa, the entire farce blew up in her face. She'd played herself right into a corner. The online mob unleashed a wave of attacks, both digital and physical, against her, while Ethan, already hanging by a thread, succumbed to the chaos and couldn't be pulled back from the brink. Vanessa snapped, brawling with the mob until she plunged a fruit knife into someone, leaving them dead. Even as the cops wrestled her down, she kept flailing that bloodied fruit knife, screaming like a rabid animal. She had gone completely berserk. But Jack couldn't reach her now, not when he could barely keep his own head above water. Let me keep Tommy. His gaze lingered on our son beside me, the smile twisting his lips more pain than sweet. Didn't he always say he wanted to grow up heroic, like his dad? I could raise him right. Teach him the ropes. Stunned, Jack watched as Tommy shrank back and ducked behind my legs, his small face upturned with eyes blazing betrayal and hurt that no child's gaze should ever hold. The sharpness in that gaze cut through Jack like a blade. His outstretched hand hung frozen between them, trembling as his voice cracked. Tommy, I'm your dad. Tommy scowled. Daddy's the bad guy. Lied to mommy. Didn't even save me when. His tiny voice cracked. You saved that lady's boy instead. Heroes don't do that. You're no hero. Jack's breath hitched. I drew Tommy closer, my voice flat. He adored you once, but that was only because I kept telling him his father loved him. Jack's eyes glistened, red-rimmed. Think you deserve those lies I spun for you? No, Rachel, please. I do love you both, every word was true. Does it even matter? He choked out. What are you? Is love just cheap talk? Should we starve on fantasies while you trample every truth we ever had? No. Rachel, I never meant to. Save it, Jack. Just sign. I rose to my feet. If you truly love us as you claim, then do us all a favor and sign the papers. Jack cradled his head in his hands for what felt like eternity, then with trembling hands reached for the pen, scrawling his name like a condemned man signing his own death warrant. After snatching the divorce papers, I grabbed my suitcase and ushered Tommy out. Sold the place. New owners take over tomorrow. Pack your crap and get out. The door clicked shut. It wasn't long before the news broke. Jack had taken his own life. I turned away. Tommy kept zooming his firetruck across the floor, eyes shining as he exclaimed excitedly, Mommy. When I grow up, I'm gonna be a real superhero. I'll rescue everyone trapped in burning buildings. I stroked his hair with a soft smile. That's my little hero, I whispered.